I'll never forget the Pine Lake tornado. It was July 14th, 2000, and it was horrifying. Those images, they stick in your mind. And, you know, I watched it in horror like the rest of the country did. Watching it was like being in just a terrible nightmare where you imagine this giant is stomping through this campground, just ripping up trees, turning over trailers, and just destroying people's lives. 12 people were killed, over 100 injured. And as a reporter, you're taught to have a certain distance from stories, and you learn to, tell an unbiased account of what you're seeing. But as a human being, it just wasn't possible to do that with Pine Lake. It was one of the worst things you could imagine. I went to Pine Lake a year after the tornado for the memorial dedication, and I talked to a woman named Adele Pryor, and I still see her face in my mind. She had talked about her husband who was ripped from the doorway of the trailer, and he died. And I remember she said to me, my life changed 100% that day. And she said she's still afraid of wind. Whenever she hears wind, her heart stops. And she says there's no amount of counseling that can take away wind. And you don't think about the fact that it was wind that did this to these people. People lost their lives, and people's lives were changed forever because of this just enormous weather event. I talked to another woman. Her name was Phyllis Galleberg. She was trapped in her trailer when the tornado hit, and was thrown and lost her leg. Now, this was an elderly woman, and she had survived, and she was grateful to survive. But she told me the story of that day, and she was laying there, and she was covered by a sheet because they thought she was dead. And she told me of how she started to cry, and with everything she had in her, she screamed out, "I'm not dead. I'm not dead." And I just think, how can you forget that? How can you tell that story and not feel something? To this day, I still think about Adele, I still think about Phyllis, and I think about all the people I met at Pine Lake. I think about them all the time.